Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Oh, are we all going to be on here?
Is that?
Yeah. So I will mute everyone.
There's one in Newport, and or not Newport, White and Inver Grove Heights, but
All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to our second virtual tasting. We're waiting for a couple more people to come in. I'm gonna watch the waiting room, but it is 5 o'clock, so it is time to drink some wine. We're so excited to see you all. And first, before we jump into everything and jump into introductions and talking about the wines, I first want to thank a lot of you for reaching out during all of the fires and your well wishes and you checking in on us, like, really kept us positive when we were dealing with all of the smoke and uncertainty. But we're super thankful. There's a lot more containment on those fires, and we have clear skies today in Sonoma, which is really, really exciting. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we at the end, when we talk a little bit about some of the challenges that this year and this harvest has presented, which are quite a few. It's definitely been an interesting year, but with that, I will kind of jump into introductions and let you all know who you have on the call with you today. So first of all, I am Megan Cline. I am part of the second generation here at Jacuzzi Family Vineyards, and I do a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything from marketing to helping Tom with the winemaking and some of the hospitality stuff. And I am also here with my sister, also second generation. Sorry, doing some unmuting really quick. Also second generation here at Jacuzzi and has been working with Jacuzzi for the past 5 years. So Hill, do you want to do a little bit of your background?
Sure. So hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Thanks for joining us. And so as Megan said, I've worked here for about 5 years also, whereas Megan does kind of the artsier side of things like marketing and winemaking. I feel like I've done more of the practical side. So I've done a lot of sales, and then right now I'm working on a lot of the packaging, logistics, and bottling, which isn't the most glamorous, but it's the most important, I would say, definitely. And so that's kind of what I've been doing lately. I'm really trying to get a broad view of the whole wine industry. I feel so lucky that we were born into it. I think neither of us thought we were going to do it, but I think once you turn 21 and you realize how amazing wine is, it kind of pulls you back. So anyway, glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Hill. And then we're also here with our winemaker, Tom Gendall. So Tom, do you want to give us a little intro?
Hi, I'm Tom Gendall. Been the winemaker here for just over a year at Jacuzzi Family Vineyards. I'm from New Zealand and moved to California in 2011. I got a degree in winemaking back in 2006 or so, and I've been working all over the world. Love it here in California and love the variety of varietals that we get to work with and the variety of wines. It's a lot of fun, and just really, really enjoy making these Italian varietals and showing a great expression of something different here in California.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So last time for our last Zoom tasting, we kind of tasted some of our new exciting wines that are a little bit different, a little bit experimental. So that was our new Dolcetto that we kind of released as a nouveau, and then our 2 amphora wines. And we thought this time it would be really fun to taste some of our classics, some wines that have been in our portfolio for a really long time, kind of our staples here at Jacuzzi. So we'll be tasting through our Gilia Vernaccia, our Barbera, and our Primitivo. And with that, I do want to say, if you guys have questions at any time, please feel free to use the chat button. We want it to be super fun. We want it to be interactive and more of a discussion than us, just talking at you. So yeah, please, if you have any questions, let us know. I'll kind of dole them out to all three of us, and we can try and answer them the best we can. And with that, we are going to get into the fun stuff. So Tom, will you introduce the three wines and then kind of jump into the Vernaccia?
Sure, yeah. So today we're tasting Vernaccia and the Barbera and the Primitivo, three of our classic wines. Fantastic wines too. The Vernaccia is a really interesting variety. It's widely grown throughout Italy, but it's interestingly enough not recognized as a grape variety in California. So that's why we can't put the Vernaccia name on it. We've used the Gilias, name it after one of the members of the Jacuzzi family, Gilia. And it's an awesome, awesome variety. It's grown about 2 miles south of where the winery is. Susan's grape grows it down there. She's fantastic and does a great job. It's one of our earlier picks. We pick it at around about 23 bricks, this wine. Bring it to the winery. We do whole cluster press, put it into a tank. It naturally starts to ferment a little bit, and then we put it to barrels. And it'll finish fermentation in barrels, and then we leave it there for a few months before bottling. No new oak. It's got really awesome characters, kind of citrus and like melons and those light tropical fruits in there as well. Really nice, rich texture as well. That's why we put it into the barrels, to help accentuate that kind of richness and broadness of the palate weight. It's got really kind of interesting kind of lanolin citrus characteristic, little beeswax and almond characters as well. Really, really interesting wine. It's grown throughout Italy and is kind of like a really awesome everyday drinking wine throughout the country. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I really love the palate on this. I love that minerality. And with that, I think it's a really good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about Jacuzzi history, Gilia, and who she is. And I'm going to have Hilary do a little bit of explaining, but I'm going to try and share my screen. So hang with me for a minute and let me know if you can see that. Yeah. All right, Hill, take it away.
Okay, so I'm assuming since you're on this call, many of you have been to Jacuzzi and heard a little bit of the history. I think the name itself kind of brings up questions because everybody knows the Jacuzzi hot tub. And so I think it's a big part of why we were able to start this winery. So basically my dad's grandfather, Valeriano, was one of 13 of the Jacuzzi family. He and his brothers slowly immigrated over from Italy in the early 1900s and settled in the East Bay of California. I think they felt the climate and temperature and the soil and everything was really similar to their home back in Italy and felt very at home there. And they had a ranch out in Contra Costa County, and their Jacuzzi factory, they were inventors in Richmond that is still there today, which is really interesting. And there's a Jacuzzi street in Richmond too. So like I said, they were inventors. At first they were in agriculture and they invented a lot of different agricultural pumps, mostly things like that. And then they were in aviation. I think that was a real passion for a couple of the brothers. And then they moved into inventing propellers. I mean, the main inventor was this guy Candido, and I think he was a genius or something like that, because we were looking in the registry of all inventions, and I looked up his name and there was about 50 under his name, all different kinds of things. So he kind of had dabbled in all these things. And then one of their sons, so his nephew was born with rheumatoid arthritis, and they actually invented the first Jacuzzi as a medical device. They put it in, kind of combining the pumps and the propellers, and they would put it in the bathtubs, and it soothed the muscles for his nephew. So it was kind of this long, winding road of getting to what we now know as the hot tub. I mean, I think it definitely didn't look like how it looks now until the 80s, I think. And then it became, I think it just hit right at the right time of the 1970s and kind of a whole interesting thing going on in the world, and became very popular. And they sold the company off after that. And, you know, but whereas these brothers, there were 9 brothers living in Contra Costa, the sisters moved over also. They weren't working in the company, like very traditionally. They were kind of more taking care of the home, housewives, that kind of thing, which I think me and Megan are really happy to break that cycle and really get our hands dirty in the companies. But so Gilia was one of their sisters, kind of supporting them in their efforts and then raising her own family as well. And my dad really wanted to honor her with Gilia's Vernaccia. But yeah, when my great grandfather passed away, Valeriano, my dad inherited a little bit of money and he was able to open Cline cellars across the street. And then he always remembered that inheritance. And then his grandfather also gave him this really deep love of agriculture. And so he kind of took that with him and then opened Jacuzzi to honor his grandfather in 2007. So
Great.
sorry, that was too in-depth.
No, thanks so much, Hill. Yeah, that was such a good overview of what we do, like a very compressed history. There is a lot of history that's tied to the Jacuzzi family. So yeah, again, really just honoring our past and that innovation. I really want to go back to the wine. I think it's really delicious. I would love to hear what you guys think in the chat. I really get this brightness to it. Tom was talking about that lemon, that to me, it's really zingy, that acidity. I think that it can go well with a lot of foods. I also think it's really, really nice on its own, just because it has that freshness, that brightness from the acidity, that minerality. We do have a really great recipe for this online. It's a pan-fried feta, I believe, with like a peppered honey. So if you get a chance, head to our website because it is an awesome recipe. I've had it a couple times and it just goes really, really nicely. That salty cheese with this brightness works really, really well. Ooh, okay. We got it. Awesome white. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Patricia.
I wanted to mention, so I worked with Tom, like I mentioned, on bottling, and this is always one, the tasting room's always asking if we can get more of this because it's always one of the favorites, but it's so hard to find in California. I think we only make about 200, 250 cases a year. So it's one of the smallest production wines that we make. And I think it's just really special that we're able to make this unique variety. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the 2020 harvest is shaping up to be a short one as well. We wanted to get a lot more tons of this when we did. Unfortunately, we just the crop was pretty light this year. It tastes fantastic. It's in barrels right now, the 2020 version of it, but we got about 2/3 of what we wanted, unfortunately, guys. So it's going to be tasty. All the wines from 2020 are going to be awesome. I'm really happy with the quality, but there's not much out there, unfortunately. There's not as much for a shorter crop, which kind of sucks. And it's disappointing, but we're still going to make some really nice wines from it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So 2020 is a super low yielding year, but Tom, wouldn't you say the past 2 years have been pretty big?
Yeah, we've had really good harvests the last couple of years. 2020 has been the earliest harvest I've ever seen since I've been in California. This is 10 harvests now I've been here, and yeah, this is by far the earliest. I mean, we've still got a bit of Jacuzzi. The Italian varietals, they like to be hung out a really long time. But you know, we're close to wrapping it up pretty much. You know, we've only got 2 or 3 more days of fruit to come in out of normally 6-7 weeks of fruit. Wow. And yeah, it's slowing down, but it's awesome. The quality is really fantastic. We've got great picking windows. All the grapes are coming in exactly as we want them to, and yeah, it's just a little bit earlier. I was a little bit worried about the concentration on the wines, but they all taste fantastic so far. We've been really happy.
Great.
Lighter crop equals earlier harvest, but lots of flavor.
Yeah. We got a note from Paul that says it's more robust than many whites, which I would totally agree. It has all of that texture, and it seems like it would go well with halibut and with a lemon caper sauce. And I think that is a great suggestion. And you're making me hungry.
I love the caper sauces. I think that would go great as well. I like it in salads if you've got like grilled fruits or anything like that. The nice fruitiness, the acidity with the fruit really matches it. Prosciutto, like cured meats go really well with it because the acidity along with the fattiness. It's really quite a versatile wine and something you can have with aperitifs, but also with dinner as well.
Yeah, awesome. Great. If you guys all want to pour your second wine, I think we're ready to move on to the Barbera, which is our second wine. And I'll give you all just a minute to do that. And then Tom, I'm going to have you jump in. All right. Okay, I want to hear in the chat, where's everyone zooming from? New York, love it.
I will say I'm really excited about this wine, Megan, because I think since we've opened, the Barbera has been the #1 seller, everybody's favorite in the tasting room.
Yeah.
So I think this is very exciting. We get to talk about this one.
Okay, we got a lot of people in New York, which is great. Cape Cod, Oregon, Vegas. Oh, you guys are from all over. It's so nice to be with everyone virtually. When you know normally it's a silver lining, right? We all get to be with each other, which is nice. All right, I think everyone's got their Barbera poured. Tom, take it away.
So our Barbera is a fantastic varietal. It's grown in the northern part of Italy, northwest, sorry, Piedmont. So Turin is the main city within Piedmont. Other varieties grown there are Nebbiolo is probably the bigger brother. The Barbera is a much more approachable, much more drinkable version of Nebbiolo. Really delicious, really rounded, nice bright fruits, a little bit of spice and complexity as well. And our wine has a little bit of oak in there. I really, really like this wine. It's very fruit forward. It kind of jumps out of the glass. It's very aromatic. We get our grapes from up in Mendocino. So that's about 2.5 hour drive from here, north, straight up north, from a grower that we've been working with for a long, long time. He's fantastic. I just scheduled the pick for the Barbera. We're going to pick it Friday next week. So it'll arguably be our last pick. We like to pick it fairly ripe. We want that juicy, nice vibrancy. Italian varietals are renowned for their acidity. And so it's kind of a battle because you've got to leave the grapes out to hang out so that acidity drops down. For example, most of our wines, we bottle at around about 6 TA. More TA is more acidity. And just last week, we were testing this wine. It was that grapes, and they're at 9 TA. So they've got a little bit to come down. Normally, we harvest it nice, really bright acidity as you get with this wine. Very plush, ripe fruits. It takes a long time to ripen. What we do is we destem this, no stems inclusion in this one, goes to a stainless steel tank. I like to spend about 2 weeks on skins. Basically, we pump it over, punch it down. 2 weeks kind of helps to solidify the tannins. You get most of your color extraction within 5 days. And then after 2 weeks, you kind of get this nice richness and roundness in the wine that I'm looking for. After that, we press it off and put it down to barrels. And this gets about 35% new. I believe it's a mirror. No, we put French oak on this one. Yeah, French medium plus oak. Really nice oak, and just kind of helps elevate some of those plum and cherry characters that's in this wine. Delicious wine, super drinkable, very versatile. Goes great with things like pork and red meats. It's got quite a bit of acidity if you need it to cut through some fat in those meats. And got great color, great length, smells amazing, and just a really fun wine to drink and share.
Yeah. Hill, what do you think? Oh no.
Okay. Oh, first time I've done that. Okay. I think the Barbera, like I said, and Tom touched on, there's so many super acidic Italian reds, and I think our Barbera brings a lot of the lushness that I can sometimes think is lacking from some of the other Italian varietals. And so I really like it for that. I think it brings a lot of juiciness to our portfolio. I think it's just a go-to. Everybody I've shown this wine to really loves it. Like I said, it's definitely like the crowd pleaser red, and has a lot of fruit. And I think I would pair this with pastas of all kind, like a real Italian food, like I think a carbonara, something like that, which I love to make too. So I think just overall really versatile red.
Yeah. And Tom, I have a question. So, I know this is coming from Mendocino County, but wasn't there a year that we went to a different vineyard, just didn't like it as much, and then came back?
We went out to the Sierra foothills. I think it was 2016 was the harvest.
Mm-hmm.
And we just didn't quite get the ripeness we were looking for. We didn't get that lushness, that acidity was too high. And the wine came out kind of thin. And the Sierra foothills are hotter, and you get an earlier ripening date. So what happens is your sugars get high before you can drop that acid out. And so what ends up, you get kind of a thin, weedy wine would be kind of a mean way to put it, I suppose. We like Mendocino because that extended hang time allows that acidity to naturally aspirate out. When you've got a long ripening season, you've got more time for that acidity to naturally balance out. When you pick grapes too early and they're all acidic, same deal. If it's too hot, it won't have time for that acidity to drop out, and the sugars will accumulate too quickly. And Mendocino, we've found our nice happy balance out there. We love the growers out there. They grow a lot of fruit and they do a great job of the Barbera. It's kind of one of their favorite little blocks that they like to hang out there, especially long for us. And I was just chatting with the guys today and they're really happy with it. The Mendocino fruit just really works well with us. It gives us that nice kind of ripe fruit flavor. Still, that acidity is definitely there, but it's matched with that richness and roundness.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. I have a fun little comparison between the old world Barbera and what you more see in the new world. And, I think we all kind of touched on this where, the old world is really more of that austere, a little bit more of the acidity and a little bit more earthiness, which I think that you see in a lot of Italian wines, like Hilary was saying. And the new worlds and what we kind of see in this Barbera is more of that fruitiness, and it's really fruit forward. So a lot of that cherry, strawberry, and then some of that spice on the back end, and definitely some of the oak coming through, but it's definitely more fruit forward. I also thought these were some fun facts that actually Barbera is older than Cabernet Sauvignon, because, Cab is such a well-known variety, and Barbera maybe not as much, and definitely has a longer history if you look back to the 7th century versus the 17th century. And, it's also a higher yielding grape, and, some of the best are coming from those vineyards that you can control that yield a little bit. It's also, last virtual tasting, we talked a little bit about the Nebbiolo that we make in amphora, and that's definitely the king of the Piedmont region. And Barbera is more the wine that you drink every day from Piedmont. But we really do think it's special. And like Hill was saying, this is definitely probably one of our specialties. So I thought this was kind of a fun little comparison between the two. So, all right. With that, I think any questions on the wine, any additional pairings that you have tried with Barbera or love with Barbera, or any of your own tasting notes, I would love to hear them in the chat. But in the meantime, while you guys are typing, I think we can move on to the Primitivo.
Oh, Meg, I see a question. So it says, is this a single varietal, Tom, or do you blend anything in there?
No, this is single varietal. This is 100% Barbera. I like the chart that Megan put up. Couple of things that popped out to me was that tart characteristic in the old world. They've also got a little more spice box character that they get up there, whereas California is more known for its forward fruit and that plum, cherry, black spice, strawberry. But that plump characteristic, I think, is what we get out of this wine a little more than they get in the old world. And it kind of suits what we eat more, the way we eat and things like that, and just a much more kind of enjoyable everyday drinker that I really, really like. So no, this is 100% Barbera. We got a great grower. We'll be looking to make this a single vineyard because it technically it's a single vineyard. All of our wines, 99% of our wines are all single vineyards. So we're looking to throw some spotlights onto our growers because we're really appreciative of them and they grow great fruit for us. And we'll be looking forward to that. Hopefully soon we'll put some names on there because it's really cool. These guys grow fantastic fruit.
Tom and Megan, I was just wondering if you guys could recommend if people want to try like an Italian version of Barbera, who's a good producer to look to?
I feel like Vietti always does a good job there, and you can find them a lot of places. God. It
really depends because the Italian varietals, the Italian wineries are very small, so they're not widely distributed, just kind of like Jacuzzi is. It's not, it depends where you are and who's buying who the wine buyer is. You're best off going to your local wine store and asking the wine buyer what they recommend. Vietti's fantastic. There's a few producers, few fantastic producers, but it's just kind of hard to know who would be stocking those.
Yeah, totally.
I do think it is really fun to do a side-by-side. If you do get a chance, go get something from your local wine shop and try them, because you really will find more of that rustic character compared to these California wines. All right, Tom, are we ready for the Primitivo?
Yeah, so Primitivo is awesome variety. Yeah, we grow this. We actually kind of grow this ourselves. We have down in Contra Costa, we've got our vineyard man Alan Lucchese, who's fantastic. These are reasonably old. Well, they're not super old vines. They're about 40 years old. Primitivo down in Contra Costa. They are head trained and unrooted down there. It's fantastic soils down there. For anybody who's in the Bay Area, they know where Contra Costa is. It's basically as you follow the river from San Francisco up towards Sacramento, there's a big sandbank there. And back in the late 1800s, the Italians, and this is where kind of the Jacuzzi name comes from, where they started winemaking, they started planting varieties, Vidra, Zinfandel, Carignan, Primitivo, Grenache, things like that. They planted them in the sandbank. And that's where our Primitivo comes from. It's fantastic because it is sandy, and so you can do unrooted vines. It's fairly warm climate down there. It's our first pick of the season is the Primitivo Rosé, obviously. The second pick, a few days later, is the Primitivo. This comes from Williams Vineyard, really great little producer there. Loose clusters, medium-sized berries, very concentrated fruit. We pick this normally mid-August to late August. Pick it at about 24 bricks. We're going for a more elegant style of Primitivo. Yeah, old vines, not much head work done to them. They're kind of let to grow themselves. It's a California sprawl, so to speak. It's goblet style, so Medusa head, a few different names, and they grow naturally. So what happens is as the shoot grows up and the cluster becomes large, when the cluster gets large enough, the shoot drops down, and then you get dappled sunlight on it, so you really don't have to do too much. And Primitivo and Zinfandel and other varieties like that with bigger clusters really like that dappled sunlight, and it helps it to kind of get a nice color, not sunburnt, and ripen really nicely and evenly and slowly. In the winery, we don't do too much to this. We just stem it. This one, we ferment a little bit cooler. We want to keep a little bit more fresh fruit in it. We're looking for nice kind of cherry, strawberry, a little bit of raspberry in there as well, bright fruit flavors. This one spends about 10 to 12 days on skins. Primitivo is fairly lush variety. It's got lots of body, lots of flavor as well. And after that, we press it off and put it into barrels. And this spends about 12 months in barrels. This one gets American oak, I believe. Yeah, American oak for about 12 to 15 months until we bottle it. Yeah. This is single varietal again, single vineyard from Williams Vineyard. Yeah, Primitivo is slightly different, but Megan's going to go into the differences. This wine, really, really bright, kind of jumps out. Although there's a lot of that American oak coming through on this wine right now. It's got that nice kind of vanilla character, almost like a spice box, like cigar box as well, along with all that nice plum and strawberry characters that Primitivo are known for.
Mm-hmm. I almost get a little bit of prune, like a little bit of the dried plum. I think it's really delicious. What do you think, Hel?
Yeah, no, and tasting it, I think I get almost like a dusty character in a good way, and it does remind you of kind of like the sandy soils of Contra Costa, 100%. So,
and I really love the tannin as well. It seems really fine, like it's definitely there on the sides of your mouth, but I think it's really fine and super smooth. Someone said smooth, Susan said smooth in the comments, and I totally agree, where you still get the tannin, but it's really drinkable, which I love.
It's got kind of dusty tannins almost.
Yeah, I do think
fine grained, like very enjoyable, smooth almost. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have another visual, and I thought this was really interesting because people talk a lot about Zinfandel and Primitivo and what the differences are. And, I was doing some research because there has definitely been some back and forth. And, basically what it comes down to is that Zinfandel and Primitivo are different clones of the same varietal. I spelled Primitivo wrong. So it's the Croatian varietal Tribodag, and that is, where Zinfandel and Primitivo originate from. And you can see here some of those key differences. So Primitivo generally is from Italy and Zinfandel is from California. These are just kind of general terms. Again, they really are different clones. And then you see some of the different flavor profiles. So Zinfandel tends to be more of that robust, super fruity, and then more of that black pepper. And then you have more of that floral fruitiness, a little bit more tannin from the Primitivo. So, you know, they're not super different. Yeah, I think you get a lot of similarities between the two. But I do think it's also interesting to try a Primitivo from Italy and a Zinfandel side by side, and even this Primitivo from California and a California Zinfandel side by side to really pick out those differences and see if you can taste some of those nuances. Tom, do you have anything to add to kind of some of the differences, or have you found anything in your research? Or
Yeah, definitely. Well, so in the cluster formation, the Primitivo is slightly looser cluster, and the berries are slightly smaller. And that's why you get that kind of flows into that slightly more tannic characteristic. It's got beautiful, nice fine grained tannins, but it's not quite like Zinfandels are a little bit richer, whereas this one's got a little more structure and a little bit more kind of body to it, if you will. And that comes from that cluster formation. When you've got smaller berries, you end up with more tannin and more concentration. This has got wonderful fruit characters, and it's got a lot of spice in there as well. I really, really like the spice characters. And just more kind of detail and more delicacy to it as well, with a lot more depth to the wine. It's pretty cool. I'm really happy with this Primitivo.
yeah, I think so too. And to me, I think it is the perfect balance between, you know, the Primitivo varietal and the California Sunshine. So you do get some of that fruit still, but you get some of those more structured characteristics of the Primitivo.
Yeah, and I see in the chat people are talking about cheese and sausage and crackers and stuff like that. Hard cheeses, especially with this, would go really great because you've got that structure and whatnot. Really fantastic. Yeah, it's delicious.
Nice.
Yeah, well, Megan and Tom and everyone who's here, I know we talk a lot about Zinfandel being from Croatia, but I wonder if anyone has actually tasted a Croatian Zinfandel. Have either of you or anyone in the chat here? I need to taste one. We've talked about it a lot, I think, in our history. So
Actually, no, I haven't. Yeah, you're right. I haven't tried that.
So we have a question. It says, if the grapes are grown in California, why isn't it considered Zinfandel? And I think just because it has those small genetic differences, which is the clonal differences, would that be correct, Tom?
Yeah, it's, this was sourced from Italy, and it was sourced specifically because it was a Primitivo variety. And that's why this vineyard's only 40 years old. So the older vineyards that we work with in Contra Costa, those 100-year-old varieties, those are a more true expression from Croatia and a more true Zinfandel expression versus this Primitivo clones. They've gone to Italy and then they've changed slightly, and then they've been brought over to California, and so that's what the difference is. And when you're out in the vineyards, you really can see the difference between the Primitivo clusters and the Zinfandel clusters.
Yeah. And oh, sorry, go ahead, Hill.
I just am wondering, like, so when you say sourced from Italy, you mean vine cuttings are sourced from Italy?
Yeah. So yeah, vine cuttings are all clones of each other technically. However, there is slight variation between them all. Yeah, vines, we don't grab seeds and put them in the ground, unfortunately. We just basically, when a vine grows, as you can see, there's a vine behind me, you basically take 2 to 4 buds out of that vine and then put that in the ground. And so the trek for Zinfandel would be straight from Croatia to California when the Croatians came to California in the late 1800s. And then the Italians, they thought that they could do better and grow Primitivo, and so they brought their own cuttings back to California. And when this particular vineyard was planted, they chose the Italian cuttings versus the California Zinfandel cuttings.
And Tom, so both of these reds are 2018. Can you talk a little bit about what that vintage was like? 18
was a cooler vintage. It's actually quite a cold vintage. It was challenging. So it was really, really late. And Contra Costa was fantastic. Contra Costa is a warmer area. And so for the Primitivo, it was fantastic. It was basically, we were picking this in early September, which is late for around there. We got great concentration and good hang time. For the Barbera, it was a little bit more challenging because, like I said, it's our last pick. 2018, it was a before and after harvest. There was rains. We had about 2 inches of rains in the first week of October. That kind of, so you either pulled it in before the rains or after the rains. Barbera is a pretty bulletproof variety. It's got nice thick skins. It's got good disease resistance. And so we were picking this in late October. It hung through the rains. It got ripe. It didn't get overripe. We normally like to pick this kind of 25 to 26. And I think we would have been lucky to be hitting 25 in 2018. To give you an idea. So 2018 for Contra Costa, one of our better vintages. This Primitivo really kind of sings that. It's got beautiful fruit, it's got depth, it's got complexity, and it's got that nice spice box character as well. For the Barbera, a little more challenging, but I think we got a lot more freshness and a lot more brightness out of the wine because of that extra hang time and just that long harvest.
Yeah. Thank you. And how about for pairings? Anyone? I know, Tom, you said cheese. We do have a recipe online that is called Chicken Primitivo. I think it's a take on chicken parmigiana. I haven't tried it yet, but it sounds really good. It's basically chicken, red sauce, and wine. So sounds like a winner. But because it's so similar to Zinfandel, I would say it probably works really well with barbecue as well. And I mean, I can attest to that. But Hill, anything?
Yeah, it tastes a lot lighter to me than a lot of the Zinfandels, kind of what Tom was saying, that we have over at Cline. And yeah, so again, if you can't tell, I love pasta. I would again go with a maybe pasta dish on this, like sausage and penny, something like that.
Ooh, or pizza. That's always good. Always a go-to.
Primitivo, barbecue's always good. It funnily goes really well with turkey as well. The cranberry sauce with turkey and stuff like that is really good. Primitivo and Zinfandel are just super versatile. They've got so much tannin, they've got lots of structure and lots of richness. They're just a fun wine to drink. Party pleaser, take to a barbecue, take to a party, people drink it and enjoy it, stuff.
I think pizza is the go-to pairing too. It's like, if you have a wine that doesn't go with pizza, what are you doing?
Totally agree.
Right there.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to switch gears a little bit, and we touched a little bit on this in the beginning, but 2020 has been an interesting year for sure, and there's definitely been some challenges when it comes to harvesting. And Tom, I would love to hear some of the challenges that you've faced, and talking a little bit about the smoke, what we're doing, and how we're testing everything. And maybe just talk us through some of the
I would like to swear, but I won't. I'll hold it in. But this is 2020. Where to begin? So we'll talk about simply the winemaking aspects of it, and then we'll get into the smoke taint issues and stuff like that. 2020 harvest, we had an early-ish bud break, and then even though it didn't feel like it was a hot year, it turned out it was quite a hot year. We didn't have super high temperatures, but we had a lot of consistently very, very warm temperatures. So we had, it was a great year for swimming out here in California. I spent a lot of days by the pool when I could. And so we had a lot of days between 90 and 100. And I was looking at some data compared to we had double the days between 90 and 100 that we normally do, which just forces that crop forward. We knew we had a light crop as well. There was just a spatter of rain in May, about a quarter of an inch or something like that. And that's when flowering's happening. So when we get rain during flowering, that reduces the crop size. So we had slightly lower crop, and then we had a warmer year, and that just compressed everything. So everything's ripening faster, everything's getting ready faster. And we had by far the most compressed harvest I've ever seen. We started picking in mid-August, and we're fairly well. Jacuzzi's an anomaly because we work with Italian varieties that need that longer hang time. They need that extra long ripeness season, but we're going to be done much quicker than we've ever been done before. Mid-October, October 16th, I think Friday next day, I'll probably be winding everything up. It's about 2 weeks earlier than normal, and on average, everything came in about 3 weeks earlier than average. So it's been a very quick, short and sharp harvest. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, but it's fantastic. Everything came in because we had slightly less crops. It was a lot easier to manage, and we really did get the most out of everything. The picking windows were great. The biggest challenge this year would be the smoke. So yeah, we'll get into that. The smoke has been challenging to say the least. So we at California, as we're now, we're world famous for our wildfires. And they happen every year. However, this year they happened about 2 months earlier than we've ever had them. So wildfires normally start in mid-October, maybe, and they started this year in mid-August. That became a problem for the wine industry because nobody picked their grapes yet. Nobody picks grapes in mid-October, and all of a sudden the Russian River Valley is on fire. We're in a nice position because we don't get any fruit from the Russian River Valley, which is fantastic. However, that doesn't mean we didn't have smoke around our vineyards and stuff like that. So that makes us cautious. However, the problem is we want to test us. Okay, so I'll get a little scientific just to explain it. Grapes, you can't taste smoke taint on grapes. So what happens is the smoke taint binds to the sugars and is like you can't perceive it as a person. Once it's fermented out and the sugar's all gone in the ferment, then the smoke becomes unbound and you can perceive that smoke taint. But how do you tell that as a grape? So you got to do mini ferments. You got to do a lot of work to figure out what you got. But then the other problem was that all the laboratories were not ready for this influx of smoke testing. And so as soon as we wanted to test our grapes for smoke taint, the wait time is, normally it was like a 3-day turnaround. Now it's a month turnaround. And you want to pick your grapes before then. So you kind of got this huge dilemma. Do I pick my grapes? Do I not pick my grapes? How do I work with my growers? How do I do this? So basically, we're coming up with agreements with our growers and being like, hey, we'll take the grapes based upon the fact that we can make a clean wine off them. The labs are still backed up and we don't know what's clean. Fortunately enough, we've got wines that we've got question marks about. Jacuzzi, all of the wines taste fantastic. Nothing tastes smoky, put it that way. Nothing tastes smoky or smells overtly smoky. And we've got no like, holy crap, that's just terrible. However, that doesn't mean that that wine won't be smoky. So, we have a pledge in the company. We're working hard and we're not going to put anything in the bottle that we even think questionable smoky at all. But it is challenging. It is, we're happy with all the wines so far, but we may not be bottling a few wines this year. Who knows what happens? So yeah, just been challenging with that on top of kind of a very short, sharp harvest. We've, on the bright side, picking's been great because, we've been able to get the grapes off in a timely time at the perfect ripeness. Working with the wines has been fantastic. We've got, we're 90% way through harvest right now, just kind of slowing down, which it's first week of October, October 7th. It's kind of crazy. Normally I would be having this moment about mid-November at a normal year. So yeah, it's a lot earlier, but we're really happy with the wines, but we've still got a long way to go until we put them into bottle, and we're still learning. So yeah, it's been there's been a lot of challenges. Yeah, 2020, I'm looking forward to seeing the back of 2020, and hopefully we'll have some cool wines we can share with you guys.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good point that we are not gonna bottle anything that has any sort of smoke, and it's tasting the wines every day and getting those test results back, and trying to make the best wines possible still in a difficult year. So.
Yeah, we're in a lot better position because of where our vineyards are. Yeah. We're tucked away from a lot of the fires. We're not in Napa Valley. We're far away from the Russian River, as far away from the Russian River as you can get in Sonoma County, pretty much. And so we're on the cusp of all the things. So we're pretty happy with the wine so far, but we'll just wait and see. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. And so that is kind of the conclusion of the 3 wines, but I would love to see if anyone has any questions. Okay, we have a question that says, "You're out of Giuseppina. Please tell me there will be more."
The crop in 2020 was really light, so get in early. We'll be bottling the Giuseppina. I think we'll be bottling it early next year, right, Hilary?
Okay, Tom.
Oh, the Giuseppina. Oh, no, I was thinking of the Gilia. Sorry. Yeah.
No, so Giuseppina. So at Jacuzzi, we've been thinking a lot about Jacuzzi. I think with me and Megan and Tom, and kind of like what we do really well. And something I think we wanted to focus on is the Italian varietals. And so Giuseppina was actually a Chardonnay. And so what we've decided to do at Jacuzzi is only focus on our Italian varietals across the portfolio. And redirect the Chardonnay that we were using for the Giuseppina over to the Cline side, which is amazing because we just released a reserve Chardonnay over there that's very similar to the Giuseppina. But yeah, that's kind of, we've really wanted to dedicate ourselves to these Italian varietals that we're so happy that growers are still kind of honoring and growing in Northern California. So Patricia, I'm really sorry, but maybe why don't you email Megan privately, and I think she could get you a couple bottles of the very last vintage of Giuseppina, because I think we have a little bit left in our cellar. So sorry about that.
All right, we have another question. Have you considered a virtual wine membership? No, but I think it's a really good idea. And maybe it's something that we can explore. Yeah, because again, can't take advantage of free tastings and would love to enjoy the virtual tastings. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And we're trying to do a lot of new fun things, kind of working with the year 2020 and trying to be innovative. So that would be great. I love the idea. Hopefully we can put something together. Great. Any more questions? Oh, great. No. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then I'll keep an eye on the chat. That is kind of the end of our tasting. We did record everything, so this will be available on our YouTube channel, and we'll send out a link. And our next virtual tasting is November 4th. And we've actually changed the time to 3:30 because daylight savings time. We want it to be light and bright when we talk to you. And we're going to be tasting 3 of our wines: our sparkling Brut Rosé, our Nero d'Avola, and our Cabernet Sauvignon. So you will get an email coming to you soon with that invite. And that is kind of the end of our virtual tasting, unless anyone has any other questions. I just want to thank you guys all so much again. It's really nice to be with you all virtually and see some new faces. Oh,
You guys,
thank you.
really fun.
Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, wait, Megan, there's one more question. Will more shipments have virtual tastings?
So yes, we're trying to organize it so some of your club wines are part of the virtual tasting, so you can join in and either supplement one bottle, because you typically won't get three different bottles in your club tasting, so you'll just have to supplement one, or you can just follow along and we'll send out the recording with the wines that are part of your club shipment. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you all again. Hopefully see you next month, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Evening, I guess.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers.